So today we're going to go over the second arpeggio for the series. This time it's going to be the minor arpeggio, and again it's going to be based on the 5th fret root of A, and the scale is going to look like this. So basically, it's basically pretty much based on the shape on the minor pentatonic scale. However, there's several notes that are going to be left out, including the D and the G notes. They won't be in the particular scale. So the 4th and the 5th of that scale is going to be excluded from the scale. But the notes we have are A, which is the root. We have C, which is the minor third. E, which is the 5th, and then back up to the root of A. Then we move over to here and we have another minor third, which is C, E, and then A again on top. And if you want, you can take it further and you can go up to here, which is another minor third of C. What we need to do to play this, starting off with the first finger on the 5th fret of E, that's your A. Then we're going to move up to the 8th fret of E, using your 4th finger. Next, we have the 7th fret on the A string, that's your E. You use your 3rd finger. And then we're going to use our 3rd finger, move it up to the 4th string for the 7th fret, that's your A. So that's the first half of the arpeggio. The next half we have the 5th fret of G, that's going to be played by your 1st finger. In fact, everyone apart from the last note is going to be played by the 1st finger. So 1st finger for the 5th fret of G, 1st finger for the 5th fret of B, and then 1st finger for the 5th fret of high E. And then you can add the C on top, and to do that you need your 4th finger, it goes up on the 8th fret of high E. And that's your minor arpeggio. Things worth noting for this particular arpeggio shape, because there's a few things that some of you people who have never played this type of thing before may find a little bit difficult. First of all, because there's a lot of bars, and particularly on these strings up here, you want to play those notes separately, so that you just get the notes playing it like that, instead of just holding down like a bar, because I have a tendency personally to have this bar shape so that I can just quickly play the notes without having to go like that. And I've seen a lot of people do the same thing. However, you don't want to just hold the bar down when you're doing it, because otherwise you'll end up getting a chord, and if you're playing with a little bit of distortion it can sound a little too much of a chord rather than an arpeggio. You don't want that. You want each and every note to sound out on its own, so that each note has its own stance when you're playing the whole arpeggio. You want it to sound like that, not like that. So the way to do that, basically do this really slowly, because this will be to begin with, because this is not an easy technique to get in the beginning. But basically your fretting hand, your left hand, you play the notes, just hold down the bar, and it doesn't matter if you can just do the one string, you could do all 3 strings, it doesn't matter. You hold down the strings, fret them, and then you play the note, and then after you play that, release your left hand so that the note is suddenly muted. Just stop the note. Then you play the next string, do the exact same thing, play the note, then release your left hand. And you don't have to take your full hand off the neck entirely. You just want to release just a little bit of movement, just to release the tension on the strings. You just feel that the pressure of your hand, of the release, and then you feel the pressure when you put it back on, then just release. So that even when you try to pick it, it will mute the string out. That's when you know you're doing it right. You hear that sound when you take the pressure off, and when you put it down again, you hear the note ring out. This is a great technique for if you want your playing to sound more staccato rather than legato, because there'll definitely be incidences, and this is one of them, where you don't want all your notes to sound out and just ring out, and it could just blend. All the notes will just blend into each other otherwise, and for certain styles and for certain musical situations that won't really work. So this is a really good technique to get used to. And you see what I mean? It allows the higher notes to have more clarity. You don't have to do it for every string. You can just do it for the top ones here, because you're doing a bar. You have to make sure that none of the other strings ring out while the other one of them's playing. But it's a good idea to do it, and for this particular reason, it really helps you get every note to stand out on its own and not blend in with all the other notes. And another thing you need to note, just like you do with the other arpeggios, alternative picking is really the way to go when you're playing this scale. So up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. You don't want to be doing random down, down, then up, up, down, without being. You want a consistent down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up going the whole time. And so you'll need to practice that with a metronome. Do it slowly. Make sure that you're consistently going up and down all the time. The motion is still consistent, and there's no random downs coming in, and because that could really ruin the flow of the scale, and you can end up causing mistakes, and ultimately you won't be able to play the arpeggios effectively if you don't have a sufficient and consistent way of playing the scale with the picking hand. So make sure that you work on that when you're practicing these scales, because it's really important. I cannot stress to you how important it is to use a metronome for this particular exercise of learning to play arpeggios. Just like with scales, you need to take the time to memorize the scales and to build up the technique that's necessary to effectively play these scales.